this is part 2 of our conversation where we're not just talking about teenagers, we're talking with them, and we sit down with some young ladies. I was blown away by some of their answers, and I think you will be too. Enjoy this conversation. Now we're here with 3 amazing young ladies that we get to hear from. Quickly before we get into it, why don't you just say a little bit about yourselves?
My name is Scarlett. I'm in 7th grade and I'm 13.
My name's Alexa. I'm in 9th grade and I'm 15.
My name's Olivia. I'm in 9th grade and I'm 15.
When it comes to like that big idea of technology, like what do you think, what comes to mind? How do you use technology in your everyday life?
I just use it mainly to talk to my friends. Sometimes I do it just to entertain myself.
I'm on it a lot. Like, I'm mainly like talking to people, or when I have nothing better to do. Like when I'm not with people, I'll like be on TikTok.
And then I just use like Snapchat and stuff to like talk to my friends, because that's the only way that people like talk now. And then just like TikTok or Instagram if I'm like bored.
I would say the biggest complaint I hear about like Gen Z, about teenagers, Gen Alpha, like in phones, is how antisocial everyone is. But you guys all 3 just said you use technology to be social. Do you guys feel like that's how adults kind of talk about it, like it's antisocial?
Yeah, I view it as a part of my social life because like I use it to talk to my friends and I use it to communicate with people.
If I didn't have social media, I probably wouldn't like be as close as friends with as many people as I am with right now.
Social-wise, a lot of people definitely use their phones to like hide, but I think like that's the main way people communicate now, and we can't do anything to change that, so like just like embrace it. And that's how I talk to my friends, and that's the only way that I'm able to speak to them if I'm not with them. So I just think it's like having a conversation.
What about when you're with your friends? Like how much are you on your phone when you're with your friends?
I feel like it depends on how close I am with the person. So if I'm closer with them, I'll probably be on my phone more. But if I'm not, I'll probably just be like taking videos and pictures, because memories.
Yeah, memories.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like, I like to record everything or take pictures of things because I like to look back on them, but like I wouldn't choose to be on my phone like texting other people if I'm with people.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives me an excuse to put it down, but I basically just use it for like the camera.
Okay, so screen time. All right, it's a buzzword. It's like, it might even be a swear word in some circles, you know. I feel like it's this big idea, you know. Are you aware of what your screen time is on a given week? Do you keep track?
Yeah, I mean on settings you can check like how much it is. I think I keep track pretty much every week. Like I check it, see how long I've been on it.
Okay.
What was yours today?
You said today?
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours, something like that.
I know my screen time. I check it like every week because I'm curious.
Yeah.
I have mine turned off. I don't want to see it.
My average is 12 hours.
A day.
My average is like 4.
In that 12 hours, are you doing any school on that?
I use it for every single bit of school that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in school, we had calculators in class, we had desktop computers, and no one thought to think like how much time we had TVs, we had projectors, we had smart boards. No one was talking about screen time then, when if you added it up, you know. I think some of the things that we've seen is that a lot of the dangers of screen time is less about how much time you spend on it and more about what you're spending your time on and who you're talking to. What are some of the real time traps or scary things that can happen, and what are some of the like kind of less good parts though about having that much screen time?
You can just like kind of get sucked in sometimes, like when you're like doing something on a social media platform, like especially with like TikTok. I don't have it, but like you can just constantly scroll and you just like don't realize how fast the time is passing by.
Also, depending on the age that you get it at, it can like expose you to a lot of things that you wouldn't really be seeing at that age.
Yep.
Like I got social media very young, so I saw more than I probably should have when I was like 7. So
If you could go back in time, would you have changed how early you got access to it?
I would have.
I would say definitely like continuously scrolling and stuff like that, or like when your phone sends you a bunch of notifications that kind of like gets you locked in and stuff like that. But I would say like the danger side, especially on like Snapchat, like anyone can add you, and obviously you don't have to add them back, but it's easier to just like press accept and like become friends with random people. And it's a picture app, you can send anything. So I think that's probably like one of the biggest dangers is like it's so easy to talk to strangers, and so little people have any concerns about it
Yeah.
until they get, like, they're already in the situation.
Does that feel like something that, you know, because you hear about it on the news, or it'll make articles, you know, like where really unfortunate things happen, where someone's either pretending to be someone they're not, or, you know, someone gets caught up with that. Is that something that's in the news, or is that something that feels like it's a little bit more a part of everyday life, where you're like, oh, some random person is trying to message me? Or does that not happen as much because you're careful?
I would say it's definitely a thing that's happened. I've heard things that people have, like, snapped my friends, and I'm like, that cannot be real. But it's never happened to me, but I also don't talk to anyone on social media that I'm not, like, if I haven't met them in person many times, like, I know them, then I wouldn't add them, because I mean, there's ways to avoid those situations, but, like, I just don't ever want to be in a situation like that.
Growing up, we were told, like, stranger danger, don't talk to strangers, you know, in real life. And it sounds like you guys kind of just apply that to your online interactions, which I just think is really smart, and I think is just a really common sense approach that I think probably eliminates, not fully eliminates, but can mitigate some of just the risks of, like, Scarlett, what you said. You're like, if I don't know them, they don't get access to, like, my profile. I'm not going to talk to them. Just like I would tell my daughter about someone in real life. What are some of the things you think adults commonly, like, don't understand about social media and technology?
I think that sometimes parents don't get, they'll be like, oh, you don't need another social media, or you don't need this app or whatever, it's just gonna waste your time and stuff like that. But I think that besides all the bad stuff and stuff like that, and, like, the high screen time, you can use those apps to actually have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, like, make a lot of memories that you can't always, like, some things you're just not gonna remember until you go back in your photos and see that and stuff like that. You can't just, like, remember that. So I think that all really comes down to also, like, what parents are teaching their kids. I think you can't overly shelter your kids either, because then when they get in the real world and their parents aren't there for them, like, 24/7, they're gonna not know how to handle those situations. So I also think parents have to, like, kind of expose your kids and kind of teach you, like, the realistic way to go about dangerous situations on social media.
This isn't good for you, but I think a few of, like, certain people use it for good. They don't always use it, like, in a bad way. And I think that most of the time parents misconcept that for, like, it's a bad platform and that you shouldn't be using it at all.
Yeah.
My parents like to blame every single problem that I'm having on my phone and my screen time. So it's like, I'm having a problem, they're like, it's your phone, you gotta get off that phone. But I don't think that's it, because the phone isn't the reason why I'm having the problems, because people also have problems without phones.
Yeah. Yeah. Parents, we all need to just admit that we tend to do that, because it's easier in life to point at a scapegoat than sometimes to dive in. And one of the things that we encourage the parents that are part of our community is, like, ask your kids questions. The most important thing we talk about is relationship. It's just talking to your kid about what's going on in their life. Okay, what about content creators? Who are your top 3 people that you watch, you read, you listen to?
Balin Levine and the Sterniolo triplets.
The Sterniolo triplets?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're like 3 guys who sit in a car and talk about stuff.
The only person on TikTok that I watch consistently is Jared McCain, so I don't know any.
What's that?
He's the Duke basketball player.
Oh. Do you like him because of basketball or because of other reasons?
He's funny.
He's funny, okay.
He's funny.
If we're not having conversations like this in real life, one of the reasons why we even wanted to show this is kind of just show that it's possible. I know it's a little bit more weird when it's your parent or your teacher, but it is possible. And sometimes I think it's only weird because it's not the norm. Even, like, everyone you guys named, I had no idea who they were, and I feel like I'm pretty. Our creative director Josh says I'm pretty up with it. That's his words, you know. He says I'm trendy, is what he says. But it just shows you how wide the internet is when it comes to conversations, like, with adults. Who are some people, adults, that you feel like you do have conversations about this sort of thing with, and what do they do that makes it easy to have that conversation?
My family's very open when it comes to social media, so I just kind of always knew, like, being raised into it, like, don't add random people on Snap, don't follow random people on Instagram.
My mom still, like, talks to me about it. She knows what I do on the apps, and she knows, like, what I'm using it for. She doesn't always misconcept it like as something bad.
Sounds like she kind of just treats it normal, like, how was soccer practice? It's kind of more like, hey, what's going on Snapchat, or how does she say it?
Sometimes it's just like a way to check up on me, like making sure that I'm still using it in the right way.
Yeah.
I don't think she does it every day, but I think it's still a pretty consistent thing.
So I hear you say that does it feel normal when she does?
Yeah, I don't think it's like out of the question or like
Yeah.
out of the picture for her to do it.
Yeah. I think some parents, maybe who don't have that as a part of their rhythm, feel like asking it, their kids would just go, oh, Mom, why are you asking me about Snapchat? Does it ever feel that way for you?
It depends on like how long it's been since she had asked me before. Like if she had asked me the day before, then I feel like I'm like, you just asked me about this. But I think if she's like asking me like once a week or something, it's not it's not weird.
One of the last questions I wanted to ask you guys, it's a big topic, it's a reality, you know, the anxiety in teenagers, from how we can currently measure it compared to other years, is really high. A lot of people, you know, attribute that to cell phones and social media use. One, do you guys experience that, like in yourselves or in your friends, that you're like, everyone just seems stressed all the time, or is that actually something that you don't feel like is a part of your everyday life? And if it is, do you feel like it's because of phones and social media or other factors?
Social media can be like distracting sometimes. So if you're like the big test thing, if you're stressed about a big test, sometimes you can get more distracted on your phone, which would still make you anxious, but you don't want to get off, which is something that I do all the time. But also like sometimes with social media, there's like a pressure to like be perfect. You want like everyone to see you on social media as like flawless and everything.
You could involve social media and blame some of it on like your stress and stuff like that, but I think like it doesn't come down to like, oh, it's my phone. Like, I think like, for an example, if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out, I wonder if this guy will respond to me or stuff like that. I think that more comes down to you liking the guy, not, oh, on my phone, on social media. Or like, I mean, I definitely think like what she said about like the comparison and stuff like that, but I don't really think that's stress from technology. I think that's just like insecurity and just like society, not really like I think it's more of the people on social media, not social media itself.
One of my fears in life and raising kids right now is seems like our world is either too worried about technology or not worried enough. This extreme, this gap. And obviously to the people that don't think there's any problems with it, you know, I worry about them talking to the wrong people, being exposed to the wrong things, possibly like just wasting time scrolling, doom scrolling. We know these are real things, you know, but then also to the people who are too worried and that would maybe blame the devices, I worry that maybe they're just missing out on actually dealing with the root issues. Like this morning, today, my 4.5-year-old, again, who has no social media, no screens, we spent the whole morning before school talking about how upset she was that another little girl had a dress she thought was prettier than hers, and in her mind got more compliments than her. And I think to myself, I get nervous that if one day when she has a phone, I just go, oh, because that's Instagram. That's just Instagram. Yeah, it's just Meta, just making my, and I just go, I think that social media probably amplifies certain problems, but I don't think, it's like what you said, Olivia, I don't think it creates like the problem.
There's a lot of like, I would say also, especially as girls, like insecurities and like being perfect, and you have to be this and you have to be that, but you can't be too much of that and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of that, but I wouldn't say it's like Instagram's fault or like it's because we're on our phones so much, or like what we're seeing on social media that's making it that way. I think it's definitely like deeply rooted in us that we have to work on, and like how we see ourselves. I mean, I think social media can contribute to that, but even adults without social media are still insecure. So like, I don't think you can blame it on technology.
Any final words you guys would say that we didn't cover, just when it comes to adults, different generations understanding technology, social media use, and how it just affects your generation? Even if it's a little event session, you know, what what do you just wish you could just say? You know, we want to hear from you guys.
Let your kids get Snapchat because it helped me get over social anxiety a lot. I used to be really scared to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so I just started like adding them on Snapchat, and then I started talking to them through Snapchat, and then I became friends with them. That's basically what happened with her. We didn't talk in person at all, and then we started talking over Snapchat, and now we're really close.
You would say, I just want to make sure I get the quote right, Snapchat helped you overcome social anxiety.
It really did.
I would agree with that. I get very anxious, like trying to talk to people and stuff like that. So I would say like starting like friendships or relationships over Snap, not too much, like also in person, but it helped. If I had anything left to say, I would say that social media is not the same for everyone, and that it really just comes down to how much a parent can trust their kid and what they expose them to and what they talk to them about. And if you don't have conversations with your kids about like the really bad parts, but also the good parts, then your kid's not gonna know what to do in those situations, and they need to know that they have someone they can talk to if they get in a bad situation on social media. So I think it really just comes down to the parents having conversations with their kids before letting them get social media. I think it comes down to like, do you trust your kid to be safe?
That's great. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This is an awesome conversation. It's way better than the one with the guys, okay? You know?